Hello everyone, I'm Duke James, and this is EU4 Meiou and Taxes 3.0 as Hungary. I want to make a quick note about the military. So it does divide it into 4 different categories depending on where the source of the troops is from. So there's the feudal levy, which draws from peasant levies and noble knights, so from the peasants and the nobles. And then there is the citizens' militia, which draws from the residents, which are local citizens, and hired captains, which is from the burghers, because the burghers are not going to join, they're not going to join the regular army, they're going to become captains. There's the tribal host, which draws from everyone. And then the 4th one is the national army, which draws from everyone as well. So these 3, the feudal levy, citizens militia, and tribal host, pay for their own troops. So they will recruit and train troops and buy the supplies needed to train those troops and keep them trained. The 4th one, the national army, is your spending. So this is your army. So you could pretty much, if you wanted to just rely on these 3 guys, you could do that. If you wanted to spend for your own army, you could do that as well. I don't think there's much difference between the quality of them. I think individually there's a difference between the peasant levy and the noble knights, and that's the skill, which I imagine is the quality of their training. So that's that. So previously I put 100 ducats into the farmlands in this province. So it should increase the size of the farmlands, but it will also decrease the income because the size is going to increase, the labor demand should increase, but I'm thinking the labor I shouldn't outstrip the labor supply because there's 35 peasant labor supply and there's only 21 peasant labor demand. So the price for the industry will increase just because they're paying more. They're paying more people, but the profitability should also increase. So there shouldn't be any problems with like mass investing where labor demand totally outstrips labor supply. And our share of the farmland in this province, the state's share of farmland, it's now 13.8% and 66 total size. That should increase as well. What I'm going to try to do now is increase my income as much as possible, because we're making 2 ducats, which is barely anything. So I'm going to do a couple ways to increase my income. I'm going to go ahead and focus admin power. Still have to get an advisor. I'm waiting for like a bureaucrat. First thing, okay, my admin power is 40 already, so it's only taken 36, so I can't increase that. So I'll leave that how it is. What you can do is you can go to the nobles, because Hungary has a lot of mines. These mines are mostly controlled by the nobles. So the nobles control 51% of the mines in Zwolen, and 25% of the mines in that province. And 33% of the mines in that province. So they own more than a 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and there's a leverage the nobles thing. Land reform. So I'm going to go ahead and seize mines from the nobles. Now, as of right now, there is no difference between seizing 10% and 50% of the mines in terms of the negatives. So I'm just going to go ahead and seize 50% of the mines in the country. So if we seized 10%, it would be this exact thing. If we seized 50%, it would be this exact thing as well. So the nobles lose 15 loyalty. They lose 1 hierarchy, which will mean I'll get a little bit of unrest in provinces. And negative 20 relations between the aristocrats and the state. And then negative 50% progress towards stability. So I'll go down to negative 1 stability. And then the stability increase interval. But I should make a lot more, at least 3 more ducats from seizing all of those mines. I believe it happens on the... Oh no, okay, I guess it happened immediately and then. So the nobles in this province went down to 50, the state went up to 71. So we went from 11% to... What is that? Presumably around 25 to 30%. So double or triple. The other thing I haven't talked about is the policies. So there's still the centralize the state. That is a policy. There is enforce religious law, which gives national unrest +1, missionary strength +3%, tolerance of heretics and heathens -1. That would be good if you want to convert your country. Actually seems pretty powerful. Just I think this is in here because you can't. There's no de gratia, so there aren't really many religious ideas, if any, actually. So they put that there, and then there is minor state reforms, yearly centralization, negative 0.05, stability increase interval, negative 15%. The Tolerance Act, missionary strength -3%, so the opposite of enforced religious law, and tolerance of heretics and heathens plus a couple, and monthly autonomy change plus 0.05. Kind of the opposite. Mediate internal disputes, same as minor state reforms. Aggressive policing, national unrest -4, national manpower modifier -10%, and then vassal force limit contribution. So negative stability actually only... Okay, it's 4%. I think before in one of the previous ones it was -2 stability. Or +2 stability. So I think they did change that. So that's actually just this privilege at the cost of 10% national manpower. I'm going to centralize, and then I'll take this. I don't think it's going to really... Just 10%. About 1,700. But then I won't take either of these. I don't want monthly autonomy change. And I don't really need this. So I'll leave those. The other thing is with the census... I guess I was still selecting Poland even though it didn't show the thumbtacks. So I cleared it. In here there's a decision. And then I was able to actually conduct the census. I think what's happening now is the same thing. Let's go ahead and... I selected these guys before, so I'll go ahead and deselect them. Even though it doesn't show it. And then we can go ahead and select all provinces. That'll select all of Hungary's provinces, all of our provinces, and then conduct census. So we make food, we produce 630 food, we demand 645, so we're actually producing less food than we demand. We produce 155 salt, we demand 127, so we're reducing more salt than we're producing more salt than we demand. That's actually a lot more salt than I thought we would produce. We produce more salt than Poland. That's because their two salt mines are not they're not, the size of the mine is not as, it's not max. This one's at 130 out of 200. And this one's 72 out of 400, so that's why we actually produce more. I was surprised by that. But their industries are not, they're not mature. So that would, I think that would actually, the salt excise tax would actually be pretty good in our country, since we consume a lot of salt. Because this isn't a tax on the production of salt, it's a tax on the consumption of salt. So I think that would be pretty good to get. What I'm going to try to do, I'm going to build a pest as a city. So I'm going to build a capital, because it is my capital, and amenities. So that'll get urban residents in this province, build that up. And then I'm going to try to build the infrastructure as well in pest. Because the farmlands is at 478 out of 901. This province, once I get commercialization, I can build the mines, the resources as well, forestries and farmlands, and then this province as well, Banat, has only 184 size out of 1049, so I can build forests and farmlands in this province. Then I'm going to try to get the timber excise, so this province and this province I can do that. That should raise money because of the forests in those provinces. So that's my plan. Another thing, merchants. There's a whole new merchant system, so you get merchants based on your centers of trade, and it's a pretty confusing system. Centers of trade move around the provinces. If a center of trade is located in your capital, it contributes 200% more to merchant generation. If you own at least one trade center, you get a base amount of plus 1.55. So the minor centers of trade gives 0.05. And the important centers of trade gives 0.15. And the major center of trade gives 0.5, and I don't think there's any level 4 centers of trade. I don't think there's any level 4 centers of trade in China. I don't think there would be this early. Nah, there's nothing. There's a lot more metal in Japan, though. There's a couple silver provinces there and a gold province down here. I don't think they had those before. Maybe just... might have just been this one. I don't remember this one or this one, unless I'm wrong. Alright, so Pest actually has 11,000 residents in it, so I went ahead and opened up a higher education industry underneath Elite at the bottom. So its size is 5, throughput 101%, skills 0. So hopefully that actually gets built up. Who owns that? So I don't think anybody owns it. I don't know, because it doesn't appear in infrastructure. Well, it appears under academic. Here we go. Academic, the clergy owns 14.7. Yeah, we don't own anything, so it doesn't actually break down academic even more. The residents all of a sudden got 5.37, so they might actually own that. I mean, no, that's industrial. I'm looking at industrial. I don't know. I think it should. Well, I'll just see what happens. Because it's not currently producing anything. Its output is knowledge. It doesn't require an input. Which is kind of weird, actually. Let's see how that goes. Alright, we're making 13.5 ducats, so we increased that by, I think, 4 ducats. So we're making 6 ducats. Let's go ahead and stop rooting out corruption. Another thing is, notice, I'm going to go ahead and throw a favor to the burghers. There's actually a lot of favors. So there's promoting the metropolitan faction, which angers the other factions, gives +5 burgher loyalty in every province. The metropolitans gain influence, so you can either get influence through the advisors or you could give these favors. You lose a bunch of stability. Provide property grants, which is giving them rural resources. Promote and support commerce. So you get trade efficiency -20%, commerce production inefficiency -15%. You lose 10 dip, +15 relations between the metropolitans and the state, 15% commerce production, and 5 burgher loyalty. I actually like that because we don't make a whole lot of money, so 20% trade efficiency reduction isn't that painful. You could support burgher autonomy, so they gain power in every province, +20 burgher loyalty. You lose stability. You also don't lose stability for this, so that's nice. Pardon smugglers, +7.5 burgher loyalty, +15 relations for some yearly corruption, and 10% times the burgher power in every province added to local corruption, providing tax relief, exempts the burghers from all commerce fees for 5 years, or employ metropolitan statesmen. So this gives stability increase interval +50%. You can get a metropolitan advisor. You lose 30 dip, +15 relations between the metropolitans and the state. You lose 1 stability, just outright lose 1 stability. Burghers gain 0.25% power for the next 5 years and 20 burgher loyalty. I'm going to go ahead and promote and support commerce. You can do that, support the bureaucrats, pretty much just expanding the bureaucracy, or employing a bureaucratic statesman. So expanding the bureaucracy gives 15% relations between bureaucrats and the state, -50% progress towards stability. That's a lot. 50.5% yearly state reach for the next 10 years. You gain 2.5 corruption and 2.5 bureaucracy corruption. And then this is the same as the metropolitans. You can the support for the clergy, promoting the spiritualist faction. They gain 20 influence. Angers the other factions, 10 loyalty. You could empower the clergy. I think these are the same. Donate. I think that is the same. You could donate to the church. 5% of tax income transferred to the clergy for 5 years. 15 relations between spiritualists and the state. 0.5 spirituality in every province and 5 clergy loyalty. Lavishly endow the church, 15%. Okay, so this is just a higher form of this one. So you get +1 spirituality, which I imagine is like the hierarchy. So it increases the unrest, or increases or decreases the unrest depending on if you get it or lose it. 15% of tax income, 15 relations, spirituality, and +15 clergy loyalty. And then stability increase interval. And then the nobles, promoting them. You could promote the aristocratic faction. Land grants, promote the lesser nobles. They gain power, +20 loyalty. Stability increase interval, yearly prestige. Overlook tenant abuse. So you get +15 relations between the aristocrats and the state. And then noble power. Oh, the freedom of the peasants decreases. And then 5 noble loyalty. So you make your peasants less free. Marry a noble consort, so you get a new consort. Diplo rep and aristocratic influence. The nobles gain power. I'd pretty much avoid anything that gives the clergy or the nobles power. You pretty much want to take away the power from the nobles and the clergy. Arrange a strategic marriage. They gain power. Chance of a new heir, diplomatic rep. 15 relations. Disown an unpopular relative. Yearly legitimacy. +15 relations between the aristocrats and the state. Okay, this probably doesn't look actually that bad. It's only 7.5 noble loyalty, but you only lose 5 legitimacy. You lose 0.1 legitimacy for 10 years and 10 dip. Our legitimacy is actually not good, actually. Negative stability decreases it by 0.2. Reform elective, legitimacy -3.38. Alright, I'll hold off on that now. That's actually something I could do. Doesn't seem that bad. And yield concessions to ancient liberties. Yearly prestige and centralization for 10 years. Lose 10 prestige. +10 noble loyalty, +15 relations between the aristocrats and the state, and 10% progress towards stability. And then employing an aristocratic statesman. So that is the supporting the estates. They're actually called power brokers on the Wikipedia. They're not called estates, power brokers. Which I think is interesting. They might change that then to power brokers, but that's what they're called. But I'm going to end this part here and pick it up in the next part. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.